Most art forms are designed to last forever. But here at the International Culinary School in Fort Lauderdale, chefs are creating meals that are masterpieces themselves. Why? Because we eat first with our eyes.
Yes, we like to call that the wow factor. You know, we want to tell a guest right off the bat that we are professionals, and we want to entice the guests with the presentation, and they're anxious for good things to follow, and hopefully it tastes as good as it looks.
We work with raw material, and that's our canvas. And the canvas is then going to be framed on some type of china.
Chef Jack says you don't have to be a professional to make any meal look beautiful.
You want to have 3 different colors on your plate. Shapes, you don't want to have all the same shapes. You want to have different rounds and squares and sticks, etc. Different textures. You don't want to have everything soft on your plate, mushy on your plate. You want to have mixtures of different textures.
You can also use a plating technique called the zone method.
You want to take your plate and divide it into 4 different quadrants. In the top right, you want to put your starch. In the top left, you want to put your vegetables, kind of tucked towards the center. In the bottom right would be the protein, and the bottom left would be the sauce. Also, instead of just taking a spoon and plopping food onto a plate, the use of molds and tureens and different shapes would definitely help the plate in its presentation. Also, taking the proteins, instead of just putting a chicken breast, slicing the chicken breast and kind of fanning it towards the front of the plate definitely helps as well.
Chef Andrew is using a mold to create a stunning oyster salad, but you can also use something as simple as a soup bowl to mold food and make it look artful.
We consider ourselves chefs, but we're also in the business of culinary arts. So everything we do, the technical skills come in the cooking part, but when we want to combine different flavors and make things more attractive on the plate, that's when we get into the art part of it, the real culinary artistry.
He dressed the dish with edible flowers. Another tip to artistic plating is to keep the herbs and other decorative items small.
I don't like to put big pieces of sprigs of any herbs or vegetables. I like just real nice and tiny, real nice and delicate is all we really need to put on there.
He tops it off with a pretty fennel chip.
Now that looks good enough to eat.
Sometimes the food itself can become the plate, or in this case, a delightful bowl. Chef Peter is making bowls and other food decorations using something called leaf batter.
When I was young and first started in the bakery, I'd see the chefs making this item, and I was like, wow, that's really incredible. And I'd see it in all kinds of trade publications and things like that. And I says, really, I want to learn how to do that because it was so interesting and so delicate and so creative. But the leaf batter itself is actually very easy to prepare, and what I mentioned, just is very creative. It's something that the whole family, if you're preparing some dinner for the guests coming in or grandparents or something like that, it's something that the children could get involved with, and cutting the stencils, and baking is really easy, and then from there they can shape it any way they want.
All you need are some stencils, which you can make or buy. The batter is equal amounts of 4 ingredients:
butter, flour, powdered sugar, and egg white.
Mix it together, spread it thinly on your baking pan, decorate however you wish using more leaf batter, which you can tint with food coloring, spices, or cocoa powder, and bake it on 300 degrees for 6 to 8 minutes. Shape as you wish and get creative. Voila! Here's an edible masterpiece that doesn't need baking. The French call it garde-manger.
Garde-manger is another French culinary term, like most of the terms that define the way the kitchen is operated. It refers to the cold kitchen.
In this cold kitchen, Chef Rich is carving fresh fruits and vegetables into sculptures.
We all make a judgment about whether we're going to eat something by how it looks initially, whether it looks appetizing or not. And in the garde-manger particularly, we spend a lot of time on extra details to make that even more appealing.
This is how you turn a melon into a flower.
We start that by making some score lines, roughly looking like a triangle, all the way around the perimeter of the melon. And initially I'm just going to make some shallow lines that I'll eventually score through deeper till I'm able to get the melon to separate.
Separate the sections and scoop out the seeds.
So the next step, once you've got them separated, is to repeat those lines right inside. And once you have that, use your knife and just stay behind the skin, and then that separates. And you repeat that all the way around. And then this, set on the top of that, becomes the centerpiece for our fruit display. Enjoy.
What's last? Dessert. And this chocolate jewelry box filled with edible jewelry is actually easy to make. Chef Malka made hers from scratch with tempered chocolate, but you can also use giant candy bars from the store. The sides are held together with melted chocolate and decorated with chocolate flowers and edible gold and silver powder.
I think art is very important in everything that I make in pastry. It's the key ingredient. Everything has to look nice, visually has to be appealing, so definitely it's very important.
The jewelry is made with fondant, cut and molded into shapes. The stones are really yogurt-covered raisins and chocolate-covered almonds. Chef Malka calls it the perfect hostess gift.
Here you go.
For more information about the International Culinary Institute, visit aifl.edu.
The preceding program was a production of WLRN Public Television.